But again, learning about things like the location and the revelation of Melech HaMashiach should make us feel clear to not be so stuck on it has to be like this. And that's what I'm getting from it, at least. I think like opening me up to sing, oh, so it could be like that and it could be like that. So it doesn't have to be the way that I think it must be. That's already a Mashiach consciousness. That it doesn't have to be the way that I see things in life. I gotta be open that it could be in other ways, but I have to learn about it. And I have to see that even the Rambam, who could have made it much more clear for us, is saying to us, listen, Chevra, this Inyan, I'll share what we know, and I'll give directives to how things are unfolding, but Lemaisa, don't be so stuck on in your mind how things need to be, and who it needs to be, and where it should be, even the location of it, of where it needs to be. And that already is tasting a little bit of living in a Mashiach society, where I don't walk around saying, it needs to be like this, and you need to be like that, and this has to be like this. So alavai, every ounce of learning of these sugyas should bring us closer to the day that we will experience all of this. Bezrat Hashem, and our learning should be a shmira over our holy heroes that are going back to battle this week. And Hashem should enable them to finish their job and enable us to finish our job simultaneously. But how exactly will it happen? The Rambam says, Lo yeda adam ech yu ad sheyu. But I think that it's not important to decipher it. What's important to see, though, is that there are different opinions about where Melech HaMashiach will be revealed. Now, I realized that I did not, there's just one more paragraph on the next page. Just listen to me if you don't have the Sefer. That he basically says on the next page that maybe you could say that all these sources are speaking about different shlavim, different phases of the revelation of Mashiach. That in the beginning he is in Chutz La'aretz, where he begins to work and do things, and then Mashiach lo yelem lerosh ad sheyu b'Yerushalayim. He can't really be a king until he's in Yerushalayim. And from here on, his the revelation of him being a Melech HaMashiach just grows and grows and grows, and like we saw before, east, west, it goes all over the place. And then he ends off here by saying that in Eretz Yisrael he will then defeat all the nations that are surrounding him. He will build the third Beis HaMikdash and he will ingather the exiles. But the beginning of the revelation happens while he's still in Chutz La'aretz. How things will exactly happen, the Rambam already told us the answer to that. Because the Rambam addressed the question, how will this exactly unfold? And you're not going to like Rambam's answer. Lo yeda adam ech yiyu ad sheyiyu. No one will know how it will be until it will be. There's a midrash that says, but before the redemption, Mashiach will be hanging out in Chutz La'aretz. As it says, Melech HaMashiach she'atid lipara me'edom yoshev imahem b'medina. That the King Messiah, who will be coming from Edom, sits with them in their country. Now what's Edom?
Understand why I say.
And we talk about Galut Edom as whom? As Rome, and eventually Western civilization.
That United States will emerge as Edom.
Where's Edom?
Parallels between the statements in our tradition regarding Edom in the end of days and current events, especially what's happening now with the United States of America.
The king of Edom will crown the king of Mashiach. The Mashiach is going to come, he's going to be a human being, and he's going to get a crown, and it's going to be placed on his head by the king of Edom.
What do we see over here? That it's possible that Mashiach will actually appear in Brazil, or in Finland, or in Manhattan.
Florida on the beach. Access granted. Access granted. The amount of access that you're about to be gifted is going to be like nothing you have ever seen in this world. The amount of excitement and joy that I have here. And
the whole country is whispering your name. Yes, you are no longer hidden. You have grown in silence. You have developed with patience. You have taken shape with your divine power where no one has seen. But now, the time has come. The veil has been lifted. The light has been turned on you. You are the chosen one. You are the voice of this new age. You now have the ears of all. You have the heart. You have the eyes. For your presence awakens those who sleep and reminds those who forget.
So you are so much more connected than you even realize. Like, my love, you are so much more connected than you even realize.
This is also the power you have and the fact that you ate through whatever was meant to make you severely sick. This could have been individuals putting things in your food, even attempting to influence your neighbors or those that live around you to be a part of this menagerie. And this backfired in the worst ways.
Facing criticism for misjudging the situation, gathering information about enemy armies and other threats. Mossad's mission extended beyond warfare. It was committed to protecting Jewish lives wherever they were in peril.
Just a hint. Maybe that's just a message that needed to come out. Like, all.
Mossad conducts foreign intelligence operations, specializing in espionage, covert missions, and counterterrorism outside Israel.
Because technically the angels be sending these videos. But you're like just so much more connected than you realize. But you're
with sneaky and deceptive behavior and a group that was lying and being sneaky and deceptive, you are protected. And they took desperate action until this desperate action led them to death. Well, it led you to a rebirth. These individuals took so much action that they took themselves out.
Channels of humility that reverberate from the master soul called Moses, called the Messiah. That the Messiah is here to spread humility. And if you attach to that, then you inherit one of those channels. And that becomes your ticket into the Messianic era and the world to come. We should all merit to some humility in these times of great events.
For years, they spread falsehoods and constructed sham versions of your story, rewriting you like you were just a throwaway side note in their personal play. But now the script has flipped. Let's get one thing straight. When the cosmos chooses an individual, it creates an invisible armor around them that enemies might not see but definitely sense. That uneasy vibe they experience near you, the abrupt dislike, the pointless urge to discredit you, is not some accident. It's a kind of spiritual backlash, similar to how shadows recoil when the sun appears. And guess what? The more your radiance grows, the more frantic their reactions become. Now here you are, occupying that space they swore you'd never get to. You didn't just survive, you overcame every tactic specifically designed to shatter you. Covert conflicts, attacks without tangible evidence, public applause masking secret curses. You were surviving in plain sight while they were simply putting on a show. Understand this, they weren't simply battling you, they were grappling with the force that designated you. They were throwing punches at the cosmos itself, naively thinking it wouldn't retaliate. And now, it's gathering receipts through you.
And they're attempting to deflect the suffering they're experiencing off onto you. And they can't. All they can do is watch and be aggravated.
You know what he's doing, or is it just like God's kind of doing it?
I think sometimes in Ruach HaKodesh, it's just happening through the person.
But he doesn't know that God took it away, the free will. Could you imagine the suffering that he would have with this person who has this type of neshama?
Sometimes the tzaddik may be more or less aware, but they could feel like Hashem is just moving through them and is guiding them. Okay?
Now, relax a little bit. I mean, you always see when Trump's even tired, like midnight, he goes, it's just natural. You know, they don't just do that at 300 when they're about to battle. That's all based on reality. You got to just activate the synapses and the animal instinct while driving the cerebral cortex with your higher functions, but energizing it with the emotion. Or you just
didn't learn anything, that my synapses didn't change, that I kept absolutely nothing.
You have no idea what kind of enemy I...
That van's going to rear in that taxi.
What?
The driver's distracted. He's texting. He's going 30 miles an hour. He's 60 feet to stop. He doesn't have room.
What the hell?
I see everything, Carl. I'm 50 moves ahead of you and everybody else. What makes you think I don't have a guy with a beat on you right now? How do you know you're going to be alive this time next year?
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Something's pumping at half mass in there. Walls of your heart are dilated. Aortic valve stenosis. You're going to need to get that replaced. But you already knew that.
Maybe we should cool off, talk again.
All this knowledge, you can unlock secrets that go beyond our universe. I'm not even sure that mankind is ready for it.
It's like all things that make me human are fading away.
Greatest lesson in human history. That of the story of the biblical King David and the spider.
Now, obviously, none of us are under the impression that, like, if I had to think about things I have to work on, I don't think I'd ever say, I have this God complex. But actually, we actually do. We actually do. In the pnimius of things, we actually do. What does it mean to have a... What does that actually mean? What do you think, Chaver? What does it mean to have a God complex?
Dajjal means the imposter. So Al-Masih al-Dajjal means the false Messiah. Okay? He said, 70,000 ala ru'usihim at-tayalisa. They will have very elaborate hats on their head, meaning they have a very distinct garb they wear. They will follow Dajjal. And you know, we know from ahadith that Dajjal starts there, and we know he ends where? In Jerusalem.
We should all merit to some humility in these times of great events, because the humility will be like Rabbi Akiva, who said, lower your head, when the wave comes. Don't stand up and get smacked down. Lower your head when the wave comes. Humanity doesn't even know what great peace and what greatness peace will bring, and what advancement of the human being there will be.
It's almost like your soul chose to have all your bad karma come first, so that you could then experience really good karma for the rest of your life, so that you could make up for that bad karma, so that you could really attune yourself to the frequency of the light that you are. Oh, you've always been spiritually favored, but for a long portion of your life, maybe you didn't know that you were spiritually favored because your soul chose to go through so much dense energy and density throughout the beginning of your life, so that you could kind of attune yourself to become the high frequency being that you wanted to become and be in this world.
When Mashiach comes, it's going to be incredible, but everybody's going to want to serve God. It's not going to be as precious to God. If the king hides himself and pretends to be one of the common people in the city, and some people are nice to the king, some people are not nice to the king. The people who were nice to the king when they didn't even realize he was the king, those are the people that the king is going to reward the greatest, and the king's going to have the greatest connection with. The other ones, okay, they didn't know he was the king. Now that the king reveals himself, of course they're going to be nice to the king now. But the king's not going to appreciate in the same way, not even close, the people who were nice to him before they knew he was king compared to the people who know he's king that are nice to him, because they're nice to him because they know he's the king.
I'm speaking from my heart now to all the righteous women out there. You're all being tested now.
But the people who were nice to him because even when they didn't know he was the king, those are the people who are really going to have the deepest connection to him. And not just that.
I wonder why. A lot of these individuals are going through backfires to where they're losing it. They're mentally not doing okay. As you can see with the way that they are reacting.
Calling you underestimated is an understatement. They took cheap shots, tried to drown you in their drama, but you folded their map and drew a new route. Each setback, each betrayal, each moment they thought they'd finished you off simply became the blueprint for your next form. You didn't just bounce back. You reinvented yourself when no one was watching. They're chasing the ghost of who you used to be. This isn't arrogance. It's truth. When you're chosen, the game changes. You think they don't feel it? Oh, they feel it now. They're scrambling because they didn't know how deep your roots go, how much power you held beneath that calm exterior. They tried to challenge you, but in reality, they were challenging cosmic forces that had already declared you untouchable. You didn't need to roar, you only needed to move. And move you did, quietly, deliberately, decisively. They duck behind filters and emojis, but your presence unsettles them. Have you noticed how some people twitch when you walk in the room? That's not paranoia. That's their own insecurity reacting to your energy. You don't have to speak, they feel you. The ones who tried to drain you are still parched, orbiting you in confusion, asking themselves how you keep rising without them. Never let them drown out your knowing. When you are chosen, the loneliness cuts deeper, but so does the victory. So does the clarity. So does the peace that comes from knowing you were never alone.
Individuals that were waging war, only to be stuck within that war because that is the timeline they had manifested upon themselves. You are free. You have, abundance. You are free. Free your mind. You control the simulation. When you free your mind, you're able to use it for the benefit of all. Because of how you realize you are all connected, but you all have the ability to step into your co-creation.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
Why did the Rebbeinu Shem create the Bria? Ramchal says, it's in the Torah, is what's called lahativ. The Rebbeinu Shem created everything to bestow an infinite state of goodness on a human being. That's what he did. Why does he want to do that? It's unknown. We don't know why the Rebbeinu Shem wants to bestow an infinite state of goodness on a human being. We don't know the motive of the motive, but that's what he wants to do. What is that incredible state of goodness that the Rebbeinu Shem wants to give a person? And the answer to that, the perfect or the greatest state of all, is called dveikus. In other words, it's where you are attached or you bond with God Himself. That is the greatest of all pleasures. It is the greatest state of being that you could ever experience. We don't know what that is. That's the state that you get to experience in Edom Haba. But that's what it is.
It says of that calf, which is a secret of Moshiach ben Yosef, that it was lifted up between heaven and earth, an example as an intercessor or an idol. And it has made all dry who come into contact with it, suckling only from its externalities.
As we walk the path of life, we must pause and reflect on the significance of our choices. We hold within us the ability to create a better world, a brighter future. The notion of the Antichrist as the harbinger of a new era based on science, not religion, is a radical one. It flips our understanding of good and evil on its head. If the Antichrist is responsible for a shift towards a future where science and religion merge, then perhaps he isn't the embodiment of evil we've been led to believe. This shift from a faith-based worldview to a science-based one would undoubtedly cause a seismic shift in society. It would challenge the foundations of our belief systems and force us to redefine what we consider good and evil. But isn't that what evolution is all about? Isn't it about growing, changing, and adapting to new realities? Imagine a future where science and religion aren't at odds, but rather work together to create a better world. A world where faith isn't blind, but rather informed by scientific understanding. A world where we don't fear the unknown, but rather embrace it and strive to understand it.
And the other impurity is the type that they can never really get rid of without this. And so it's necessary to produce this to save these people spiritually. You're saving their lives. And it's an inconvenience for this person for one day he's a little bit less pure. And this is really the whole idea of how if we help each other and we share with one another, then we build this world and we make this world a better place. But if we're only concerned with ourselves and saying to heck with the other person, then this world stays the same selfish, separate world that it is, each of us in their own area, not helping, not concerned for anyone else, and all those that are in need of help suffer. And so that's the idea that, and it's really built off of a very famous pasuk that says that the world is built through kindness. The love and kindness that they're showing for them to help them become purified, even at the cost of them becoming impure, is really what it's all about. life is not a pretty picnic type of story. It's hard and it hurts. And we have to be willing to go beyond and even to the point of not being so comfortable. If we're willing to become uncomfortable for someone else, Hashem sees it and says, wow, that's godlike. You know, till now you were behaving like simple, selfish human beings. But now you're willing to put your own needs aside for the sake of someone else. That's godlike. And that changes things. That changes you and changes the world. And that's the power to purify. So with all this, we can appreciate and hopefully solve the riddle of the Para Aduma. We started off saying that the contradiction is that it makes one person impure who prepares it, while it makes the other person pure. And that made no sense. So now it makes perfect sense. Why is it that this person should make himself impure for one day in order to save this person from being impure for eternity? Because you're not doing something for someone else. We are all one. We're all connected. It's like the left hand saying, no, don't use me to clean my right hand. But silly, you're part of the same person. And when we look at just the hands, they look separate. And when we look at each other in this world and we think we're separate, that's not true. We have one Father that created all of us, and we're all connected. Therefore, it's the right thing to do and the thing we should do to inconvenience ourselves, to forever enhance the quality of another person's life. What a blessing, what a gift. And ultimately, we're only helping ourselves. Because of course Hashem will reward us for it, but think about it this way. If Hashem loves me, then He loves Him. And if I help Him, then I'm making Hashem happy. How do I love Hashem? This is the closest, most complete way to love Hashem. Because if I want to do for Hashem all day long, He doesn't really need what I have to offer. It's perfect anyway. He needs. And so this mitzvah is teaching us the real foundation of the Torah. The entire Torah is summed up in one statement. Love your fellow as you love yourself. Because you're connected. You're not separate. And by doing so, you're loving me. Because I made both of you. And so now the contradiction of the Torah becomes the simplest answer to all of our questions in life. It's not a story about me. Creation and life is about we. When I understand that it's we, not me, then I've solved the riddle and the contradiction, and I've brought this world closer to perfection. Closer to Hashem, closer to Moshiach.